Picture this, you're at a campfire jam with a couple of other guitar players, you know the songs, you're ready to join in, but you don't want to just blend in or make everything sound like one loud guitar. You want to add you to the mix. In this video, I'm going to show you how using a capo can be a game changer. It's a simple tool that helps give you a voice and help you stand out in the best way possible at your next campfire sing-along. All right, let's go for it. As an adult beginner, if you don't know how to play bar chords just yet, that's okay. I would recommend learning how to use this effectively so you can play along with those campfire jams. Now, all you need to know is 5 simple chord shapes, open chords that is. So we've got C, A, G, E, and D open chords. Now these form a system called cage. Now cage can get a little bit crazy at times, so we're just going to keep it simple today. And if you also don't know the notes on your fretboard, that's going to make it harder to understand as well. I do recommend doing that, but for now, just trust me and follow along with what I'm going to show you, and so you can get in and start playing those songs. All right, so those 5 simple chord shapes, the C, the A, G, E major, and the D, and they're all major chords. But they're the open positions, and like to really help you analyze this or understand it is knowing the root note of those chords. All right, and once there's a root note, it's the lowest note we play in that chord. So for C, it's where our 3rd finger is on the 5th string there at the 3rd fret. The A is the open A string or the 5th string there. All right, C, A, G. We've got our on the 6th string there at the 3rd fret, whether you play it that way or that way, it doesn't really matter. The E is our open 6th string there, and the D is our open 4th. So when we move this around in a minute, I want you just to think there's shapes now, not actual chord names. The shapes are going to stay the same as we go up and down the fretboard here, but the chord names will change. All right, that's just a little rule. All right, let's look at a couple of samples of some favorite campfire songs. Okay, Bad Moon Rising, what a classic. It just gets everybody singing, but like, because it's only 3 chords, it helps you understand how we can change this around so we're not one loud guitar at that jam. All right, so the 3 chords are D, A, and G. All right, now most guitar players that you play with will be strumming away on their open chords. If they know their bar chords, you just let them do it if you don't know how to play bar chords. All right, so we've got the D shape. So if we were following that cage system like C, A, G, E, D, all right, all that just keeps moving along and repeating. So what I mean by that is like the C goes to the next shape up, from C goes to an A shape, all right, then goes to the G shape, E shape, and then D shape, so on and so forth. All right, now, if you know bar chords and want to learn that, by all means, that is the best way, but to keep things easy, let's just use the open chord shapes with our simple tool, the capo. All right, so for Bad Moon Rising, we got the D. All right, so if we use the D, our next shape along will return back to the C. All right, D's the last one in that caged cinnamon or system. Let's call it a system, all right, because that's what it is. All right, so if we go C, A, G, E, D, it just keeps repeating again, so it goes back to C. So from this shape here, we'll find our C shape is the next one along. All right, so again, if you know your note names, you'll be able to do this easy. If not, just follow what I do until you start doing that and it makes more sense, or you learn the note names on the strings. All right, so our C shape is here, right, because our lowest note is on the 5th string there at the 3rd fret, because we've got the capo here at 2nd fret. C, G. Okay, so Bad Moon Rising will be. All right, so so we'll be starting on the C shape now. All right, that's with our capo there. So anybody just strumming away on the D. You are adding just another voice in there with this. It just gives it a slightly different flavor, okay, compared to the original. And what that does, it just adds to the mix, right? This is like having your voice in a conversation, because when you're playing with other guitar players, that's exactly what's going on. It's just instead of words being used, it's music that we hear, right? But like if we're all just strumming that same chord shape, the open chords there, it's just going to be one loud thing. So that's like someone overriding the whole conversation with their loud voice. Okay, so this gets you around that. And it just sounds so much better. It sounds so much more even across the thing. All right, so that's a C shape for Bad Moon Rising. The next one along, we go C, we go A now. So the next shape along, it's the A, so we're going to put our capo on the 5th fret, play our A shape now, right? Remember the A chord from before was the open 5th string, right? With the capo there, just think that's the open string now, right? So we're going to play an A shape. Alright, so we're starting to get a little bit higher sounding here, a little bit out of the actual original, if you were to play along with the record, but this is a good thing when it's a jam, right? I'll throw this in right now. If it's just you playing, hey, stick to how you play the original with the open chords. That makes sense. I wouldn't add a capo if you're just on your own. Capo is great for when you're playing along with others. All right, so for this one, we've got the A shape, and then we're going to go to the E shape here, and then D shape. All right, and they're the 3 chords that we need for. Okay, so there's 2 positions right there that adds to the mix. All right, the next one along is our G shape. So we've gone C, A, G. All right. So again, we're in the original key of D, so we're not changing keys here, we're just adding a different way to play those same chords, because the uniqueness of the guitar is like, we've got notes and chords all over the place. It just gives a different nuance, slightly different timbre, right? I know that could be big words right now, but like it's just a different tone. And the way I often explain it to my students is like, think of the color blue and how many different tones of color there is, different shades of that color. All right, so it's the same thing when we're using chords. We've just got 5 different shades. Look at it that way. All right, so blues, different colors, chords, different tones. All right, so this one, we've got our G shape into the D shape, into the C shape, sorry. Okay. Now that will contrast well when other people are playing down lower and you're just adding your voice so you sound distinct and adding your part of the conversation to the song. Okay, so the 5th way, the E way, because originally this song starts off on the D shape anyway, so we're going C, A, G, and now E. Now the E shape, if you don't play bar chords right now, I would try and avoid this shape as much as possible, because especially on a song like this, you're not going to get away without playing a bar chord. 2 out of the 3 chords for this song will have that, but you got your E shape, still an A shape, but we're now moving into the bar chords area, and then another A shape. All right, so I would avoid that shape if you can, and just use one of the other ones, the C, the A, the G. Okay, and then you got plenty of options there to play that song. A second example is going to use the Beatles classic Twist and Shout. And who has not sung along with this song at the top of the voice? And what perfect place to do it is around the campfire at a backyard party, you know. Shake it up, baby, now. All right. So this one is in the key of C. Don't quote me. I'm not sure whether that's the original key, but I'm just using C as this for this example. All right, so you got your C, you got your F chord, and then the G. All right, so we take the arcade system, we go from the C, now we want the A shape. All right, so the A shape, there's our root note on the C there. We're going to put the capo on the 3rd fret, play the A shape. So we got A, D shape, E shape here. But the chords that we're actually sounding is C, C, F, and G. All right, we're just using the original shapes. All right, remember I said it earlier. The shapes stay the same. The chord names will actually change. All right, so you're playing an A here, D, and then an E, but just sounding the C, F, G from the original. All right. Well, shake it up, baby, now. Twist and shout. Alright, so we're adding a different voice to this one here. A little bit lower. Alright, and if you're playing with another guitar player, really, most guitar players just choose the open chords. You be the odd one out and, you know, be the more professional one and just use the capo to help give you a different voice. So we've done the C shape, we've done the A shape, and now we're going to do the G shape. All right, so our G shape, we're going to find that with the capo on fret 5 here, starting on G shape, C shape, D shape. All right, shake it up, baby, now. Twist and shout. So we covered C, A, G, the E shape. Remember, I'm going to avoid this one because it does lend it into a bar chord. Again, if you can do a bar chord, great. You've got the E, A, and the B shapes. All right, but we really don't want that. So for this next one, we'll move to the D shape. So we're going to do the D shape, G shape, A shape. Now, some songs I just want to point out, some songs are going to be a little bit hard to get the fingers in, especially if you've got larger fingers like I have. Right, so we're getting right up here, and it can sound a little bit like what they call it, a mandolin kind of sound, which is good, not quite on its own, but like blended into the mix can add a nice tonality to the actual song. So we've got the D shape here, G shape, and then the A. All right, shake it up, baby, now. Twist and shout. All right, so those two Campfire songs, C, Bad Moon Rising or Twist and Shout. All right, we've covered it in 5 different positions, and that just opens up what you can do with your capo so you can be heard in the mix. All right, so it doesn't sound like one loud guitar. All right, so we just looked at a couple of 3-chord songs, and they're great ones to get going on, especially if you don't know many songs. Having a bunch of them under your fingers will help you join into more songs. But what about 4-chord songs, like great songs like Let It Be or Learning to Fly? All right, both in the key of C. Most people will just play them here. All right, but as soon as we throw that minor chord in, right, even, right, same chords, just a different order. As soon as you throw that minor chord in on the capo versions, you will have to use a bar chord. All right, now to get around that, so any chord 4 chord song in the key of C, what I would recommend is just going with the G-shaped ones. So your capo on fret 5, and you can play. Right? Or, sorry. Alright, that way you're covering all the 4 chords and that minor chord without using a bar chord shape. Because if we learned it with like in the A position, we'd have the E, then we have to do an A minor bar chord. Okay, and that's where it can get a little tricky. So any song in C, like Let It Be, Learning to Fly, etc., just put your capo on the 5th fret, play the G shape for that chord, okay, and then you're good to go. What about a 4 chord song in the key of G? Well, like Brown Eyed Girl or Pearl Jam's Last Kiss. Very similar chords, G, C, G, D for the for Brown Eyed Girl, or G, E minor, C, D for Last Kiss. Alright, so this one again uses that minor chord, so a lot of these capo positions will require you to use a bar chord in there. Alright, but to get around that, I would just put my capo up on the 7th fret and play the C shape of it. So Brown Eyed Girl would be hey, where did we go? Up to the F. Alright, and then when you get to the pre-chorus section of that, you throw in the A minor shape. So the same with oh, where can my baby be? Lord took her away from me. Okay, so even though that sounds high compared to the original, it will give you that nice voice that you're looking for. So there's just a couple of little tips to avoid that bar chord if you don't know them. If you do know a bar chord, hey, you've got more choices to go with. Hey, if you got a value out of this video and you would like to know more about how to use your capo or playing along with others at the campfire, hey, check out my Ultimate 4 Chord Songbook. It's 10 easy songs for beginners to start playing songs around the campfire. Some of those songs will have no capo on. We're just using the 4 chord shapes like a G, E minor, C, D. And then others will have the capo on, just to allow you not only to start playing those songs easier as of today, but like gives you ideas of what you can do in a jam session like we've been talking about all day. All right, and to help you even further with that, like unlike a lot of YouTube courses and stuff like this, now the Ultimate 4 Chord Songbook, completely free. That's not going to change. All right, but I want to help you even further for free. And you can do that in my community Campfire Guitar Superstars, where you can get feedback on your playing, personalized support, as well as talking with other campfire strummers in the community. So every week I do a call where you can get any answers on the songs in that songbook. All right, I'd love to see you in there. And how to get there? Hey, simply just follow this link here and that'll take you to the page and you can check it out there, get more information and see if it's like for you. I think if you're just looking for playing songs for fun, it's a great place to be and you won't be disappointed. All right, so go and check that out. And if you would like help understanding how to transpose keys for when you're playing with singers using the capo, hey, check this video out here. It's got all the answers you'll need to get you up and running and helping you play those campfire songs with a lot more ease and a lot more confidence. All right, that's me for now. I'll see you on the next one.